Well, it's the first day, and I'm lost as fuck. I'm lost as hell. I done been walking around Manhattan for the extra 15 minutes, not knowing where I'm going.
All right, so we get to New York. It's time to rehearse. It's so many things that are happening at once with this rehearsal. Like during the 8-hour workday, we would go from being in the studio with the musical director, learning the music, note for note, harmony for harmony. We shipped over to the other room where we're doing choreography, learning the dance. And then we'll be shipped back to another room where we're learning the scenes and we're actually like working through the blocking of the scene. And some days I would have to leave the 8-hour rehearsal and go to a fitting for the wigs, a fitting for the costumes, because I was the only one that was not in New York or on the East Coast. So I was rehearsing and getting fitted for stuff. So it was a lot going on at once. And then we would go and go to the recording studio, which was pretty fun. And record some of the stuff that we couldn't do in the scene. So some musical numbers had some backing, some vocal, some background recording.
To the bad side.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay's Thunder early at the step into the bad.
This was the very interesting thing. Everybody on the creative team, minus one person, was white, telling Black people how to be in a Black production about Black people telling a Black story. The only Black person was the assistant choreographer who taught us the dance. So the only Black person you have is the person telling us how to move, showing us the dancing and how we're actually going to move. But the telling of the story, the singing of the songs was all directed by white people. That was interesting.
When you are telling an all-Black story, I feel like it would behoove you to have Black representation at the table and Black representation on the creative team, because you're pulling from the actual experience of a person. I mean, like if you want to get to the highest point of telling the story of a people, then why would you not pull from the people? You know, we pass stories down throughout generations. And you come to a point where you say, oh, okay, you want to put this story on. I have some experience that I can actually pull from, whether it's through an ancestral line or through my personal experience. Either way, you know, that person, for whatever the culture is going to be the closest thing that you can get to it.
I'm at a headspace now where I know that that's the way a lot of things are going to be until people of color get into places where they can take the reins. I'd be lying if I said it bothered me, because I've gotten used to it. I don't know if that means it should, but with shows like this, I guess it'd be more powerful coming from like a Black production team and like a Black director. It'd mean more, I think.
Even though we had, you know, white people producing us, they still let us sort of kind of tell the story in the way in which is essential to our culture and our history and the history of the musical.
It wasn't as bad, but I still was mind blown. I'm like, the producers, everybody making money off of this show is white, telling Black people how to be Black. But I got over it. We had a good time. You know, we took our own liberties to do what we wanted to do and stuff like that. We had a good time.
Early as the hell in the morning, and we're all out here waiting on our bus to take us to New Haven, Connecticut. All these Black people. See them all? Do you see them all? All the Black folks.
Here you go, stand with your video footage. Stay vlogging.
You gotta get this light. Come over here.
It's early, y'all, and I'm sleepy and hungry, and I gotta use the restroom. We've been waiting all this time. The bus has arrived.
So-
A whole bunch of niggas waiting is the problem.
We are taking turns cursing him out, right?
Oh yeah, we all taking turns cussing out the bus driver.
You're late.
Late. Okay.
Rehearsals are done now. Now we move on to the first set of previews, which is the only shows that we did here in the States. So we go to New Haven, Connecticut.
We're at the legendary Schubert Theater.
The legendary Schubert.
Downstairs, dressing rooms, downstairs.
Thank you.
The theater that we went to is a historical theater for being a theater that most Broadway shows workshop their shows before they go to Broadway. So it has a huge history of a lot of shows that come through there. We get there, we're in the heart of the Yale University neighborhood, so we're like right in the middle.
Curtis.
Hi, what?
Did she?
Oh. Oh shit. Got a whole room of shit. Oh. Party. Well, this is all for little old me. Wow. I feel so special. But I feel lonely. Nobody's here with me. Oh. Somebody come be with me. Where is everyone?
So we're in this theater, we're literally having to tech the whole show. This is our first time in costumes, it's our first time in wigs, it's our first time doing all of this together. We've been working before that, we were only rehearsing in a room, you know, that we had to make believe everything and makeshift things. And so now we're finally working with props, with costumes, with the whole thing. And we only have 4 days from the time that we get there to the time that the first show is up. And wardrobe dropped the ball hard. Every time we came out in some new costume, as we're in the scene trying to work it, the director would stop the scene in the middle of it. We're trying to take lights and sound, we're trying to take everything at once and work the show, doing costume changes, and the costume department did not do their job. Costumes are falling off, costumes aren't fitting, costumes aren't there. Like, what are we doing? We've ridden from New York City to New Haven, Connecticut on a bus early the fuck in the morning, and we get there and we go straight into a 12-hour rehearsal and nothing is working. So everybody is on edge, everybody's mad, everybody's aggravated.
Let's do that from the start again, and don't sing, save your voice.
Oh, I didn't hear speak. Y'all could have stopped this a long time ago and said that.
Yeah, one more time.
And somehow, some way, we opened and we did a whole show. Now, I will tell you, our Jimmy somehow slices his finger wide open on this plexiglass table. Has to be shipped to the hospital during intermission. So first act he does the show, second act he has to go. Everybody's like, oh my God, what do we do? Jimmy Thunder Early has to go to the hospital. His understudy has to go in. The understudies did not get a proper rehearsal. So this man is doing the show for the first time in front of a live audience, and we all rushed to his aid.
It felt like I was being shot out of a cannon. Jimmy Early is a very hard character to play. The song he sings are very hard. I did as much as I could for myself. I did my homework, but we didn't have time for understudy rehearsals, so we had to piece it together in our mind, and nothing was set. So the first time that really we had to do it was when we had to do it, when Alex got hurt.
He smacks his hand on this plexiglass table. He slices open his finger, and his blood, I don't know what kind of blood he got, but it was everywhere, all over the stage, and puddles, droplets, and there's a lot of traffic happening on stage in the first act. So we're all just like sloshing in it and moving it around and spreading it everywhere, getting it on our clothes. We were laying in it, dancing in it. People were slipping and falling, wigs were flying, costumes were opening. It was just a mess. So when the end of the first act came, it was a little bit of put the pieces back together.
The director was even like, what do we do? This has never happened before. What are we gonna do? You gotta figure this out. Stage manager, you gotta figure this out. And it's like, to see white people shit their shit, I'm like, whoa, this is out of control.
Many people coming up to me telling me that this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. Thankfully, the cast, they had my back. And that was very reassuring to me, because without them, that show would have, literally been a shit show.
And one of the pieces that I did not expect to leave the puzzle was our Laurel called out. And so they called for me to go on. Now, mind you, I had only had about one full rehearsal. I was very scared, to say the least. I was very scared. I knew that once I got on stage that I would be fine, but the backstage traffic of Dreamgirls is just as important as the onstage stuff when it comes to the principals and their quick changes. And that was something that I was not prepared for. When to go behind the panels that move, and you got to be there at the right time or else you could get hurt or you'll miss your cue. It's just, I wasn't prepared for any of that. So I was backstage, they was trying to stuff me into these costumes that didn't fit, and you know, they were trying to put me in one of her jackets and she's way smaller than I am. So the button was popping open and it wouldn't stay, and we was trying to cover it with the scarf, and the hat was just, So yeah, that's what my intermission was like. There was no time for bathroom breaks, there's no time for rehearsals. It was just get dressed and sink or swim.
Woo! It was a shit show. But we get through New Haven, we learn our stuff, and then we move on. We take a break, and then we move on to China.